Welcome back, everyone. So this week we're going to explore agriculture in Module 2. So before we get into Module 2, I just want to remind you that for Module 1, we completed 2 activities, the discussion board post and the worksheet on government resources. So I will be grading those. Once I've graded those, I'll post an announcement. So please take the opportunity to review the feedback I provide, especially for the discussion board post. Read through any feedback to ensure that you're not making the same mistakes twice, because we have another discussion board post this week. And then look through the feedback I provide for the government resource worksheet, just to ensure that you're understanding how to fill these worksheets out correctly, because again, we have another worksheet this week. So do look through the feedback, and that way you can incorporate the necessary feedback to your worksheets and discussion boards this week, so that you get exceptional posts being made here. So in Module 2, we're looking at how we can use environmental science to feed our growing population through agriculture. So let's take a look at our module introduction. So by the end of this unit, you will be able to describe the implications of local environmental issues for our community, specifically with your topic choice for the environmental issues project. You will also be able to determine the economic advantages and disadvantages of agricultural practices. So we'll look at that with the worksheet this week. And then explain how economic factors influence responses to environmental issues related to agriculture. Okay, so we'll be utilizing a lot of different resources this week to help us with that. And so as far as what you will be doing this week, we do have a chapter reading again. And so you'll be reading the chapter, and then we also have other resources. So last week you just had the chapter resource and then looking through some government websites. Well, this week we have a chapter resource, we have a couple videos, we have some additional resources. So there's a lot more, okay? So once you get through the resources and the assigned readings, then you'll begin composing your initial discussion board post for our workshop this week. So that post has to do with your final project environmental issue selection. So you'll look through the provided resources and start to write out your initial discussion board post. So that's due Thursday midnight. And just a reminder, we're switching back to student time zone. So if your time zone is different than Eastern time zone, then you can just submit your post by Thursday midnight, whatever your student time zone is. Okay. You also have the worksheet that is on agriculture. So you get to choose between 2 options to write about. So that will be due Sunday midnight, and then you're going to respond to 2 students' initial posts in the discussion board, or what we call a workshop, and respond to those no later than Sunday midnight. Okay? So let's take a look at the information this week, or the overview. So again, we're looking at agriculture. Now, you might not think about agriculture as an environmental issue, but it is a huge environmental issue. So we need to think about, okay, so one of the necessary things for humans to survive is we need to feed ourselves. And there are over 8 billion of us now. So how do we feed our growing population? We need huge land masses devoted strictly to growing food. Okay, whether it be crops, whether it be livestock, we need to have enough water, we need to have enough air, soil, in order to grow this food to feed our growing population. And so there's, different ways that we've attacked this problem in the past. And so we're going, in the textbook reading, you'll learn a little bit about the history of agriculture, going back 12,000 years ago when we first started cultivating food, to the Green Revolution, which started us down the path of modernizing our growing methods to grow more food, but also led to an environmental crisis known as the Dust Bowl, to modern day growing methods that include things like genetically modified crops. And so, there's a lot of things that you're going to be learning about this week. And so as you're reading through things, try to bring in your own lifestyle choices into it. So think about, where your food is coming from. What choices are you making when you go to the grocery store? Do you know where your food is coming from? Are you looking at those labels? The produce, the produce is supposed to have the origin on there. So are you reading where, how far your produce has traveled? Are you looking at those labels to see where the, processed food product that you've picked up, where it was processed, and does it contain genetically modified organisms? Is that interesting to you? So, there's a lot of things that you can learn about just by looking at the food choices that you are making. And, that way you can be more informed about the choices that you're making, and perhaps, learn more about more sustainable choices that we have available, and see how we can, make personal choices that are perhaps better for the environment. Okay. So as far as the resources this week, as I stated before, there are some extra resources aside from just the reading. So with the reading this week, we're going to be reading chapter 7, which again goes into agricultural history, as well as some of the new technology that is, ever evolving. So as you're reading the chapter, good idea to jot down some responses to these two questions. So what are the major issues facing our current system of agriculture, and what can be done to change them? And then how can we incorporate sustainability and conservation into our daily lives as it relates to what we eat? Okay. In addition to the chapter reading, we have a couple of videos for you to watch. Notice they're not that long. Okay, so the first video, we're going to be kind of taking the information we learned last week with our ecological footprint, and we're going to expand upon it to learn about how we can develop more sound agricultural practices that approach agriculture in a more sustainable way. Okay, so you'll watch that video, and then we have a global nutrition video that talks about food and nutrition and access to these nutritious foods. Is that equal access, okay, and the policy and economics and sustainability. So this is a short video, but we do have a link to the full video if you'd like to watch that. That's optional. In addition to these sources, we do have some specific sources that will relate to the worksheet that you'll be completing. So these sources are related to the worksheet. Okay. We have two assignments that will be due this week. So the first assignment is your workshop, but it's designed like a discussion board post. So you will be writing an initial discussion board that will be due Thursday midnight, and you'll be responding to two student peers, okay, two of your peers that have different topics from you, and you'll write a response post to them. And those response posts are due by Sunday midnight. Okay, so that's worth 55 points. So this is more than last week. Last week's discussion board was only 40 points. So you're expected to put more effort into your postings this week, so I should see that reflected in your posts. And then you have a worksheet that is due Sunday midnight, so that's worth 80 points. In this case, you have a choice of topics to research, so alternative methods to farming and genetically modified foods. So you'll choose which one you want to do, and then you'll research the topic and answer the questions on the worksheet. Okay. Now I have videos that go into detail on how to approach your workshop this week, as well as a video on how to approach this worksheet this week. So please check out my videos for more information. If you have any questions, feel free to either ask the class in the general questions discussion board, or you can reach me via email if it's more of a personal nature. All right, good luck everyone.